Okay, what's up, people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing good. Let's check we got the right mic. Yep, we do. What is up, people? Hope everyone's doing good. Happy Friday to everyone. As always, guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, make sure you do go and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But we are coming up to the end of the week, so it's going to be interesting to see how some of these weekly candles do close. And looking at some higher time frames, the weekly chart, the monthly chart as well, there are some interesting insights to what the USD pairs are looking like they're about to do. So I'm looking at a lot of opportunities on the USD pairs. We'll go through a bunch of them and I'll share exactly what I'm looking at. And that's probably where a lot of my focus will be. I still like the yen pairs. I still think there's a lot of room to the upside for them. The yen basket still looks very, very weak. So that is still likely to continue lower. Therefore, the yen pairs still likely to push higher. But I think the USD pairs could be providing some nice opportunities. I'll start with the dollar. Of course, any requests, any pairs you're looking at, drop it in the chat and I'll be happy to discuss and go through them. But my interest, especially going into next week / the end of the month, to be honest, end of the year, it looks like we've had that failure to break through 100.250. I was talking a lot about this level on the daily chart and how essentially price had that double top. And now that we have broken through support here, that was basically my invalidation. That was to say that, okay, this bullish bias is no more. The likelihood of USD continuing to the upside is now very, very slim. So I'm shifting to a bearish bias. It looks like we're going to get a very aggressive double top pattern, which basically, if you look at the 3-week chart, we're getting a nice tweezer top here. I'm actually seeing a lot of this, a lot of these patterns across the USD pairs, which I'll point out in a moment. But you can see price essentially has come back into resistance. One wick from the last candle and another wick from this current candle, which is about to close at the end of today, at the end of the week. So to me, it looks like price has basically tried to see some upside because we had a lot of rejection at the lows here. So there was a big sign to say that, okay, this bearish trend is running out of steam. We've had a bit of an up move, but that up move hasn't provided enough energy or buying pressure to actually see a adequate reversal. Failed at resistance, nice tweezer top pattern. Now I would expect price to see some continuation back into the lows again. Whether we create new lows or not, that's a different question. All I'm looking to do is to see if the dollar can drop back into support here. So that's the plan I have with dollar over the next few weeks now, at least to the end of the year. And of course, we do have the upcoming interest rate decision. I think that's next week, I believe. It looks like rates are about to drop as well. Potentially, we're seeing that priced into the market already. So to me, it looks like a one-way ticket for a push back down into support here at 97.6. So I'm going to be pretty bearish in the next few weeks for the USD. And if you take a look at some of the higher time frames for some of the USD pairs, pound USD likewise as well. Again, this one we're seeing a nice engulfing pattern here. Again, these candles haven't closed yet. We still do need to wait for the end of the day, but it looks like we're going to get some type of rejection pattern here. Price have basically failed to break through support. We're seeing momentum switch. Like I said yesterday, price for pound USD is pretty much in a range here. And it looks to me that we've just rejected the low of the range. So likewise with the DXY, expecting a drive back towards the upper end of the range. So the DXY is going to make this type of move over the next few weeks. I'm going to expect pound USD to do the opposite, of course, and we're seeing price confirm that bias as well. Euro USD, I like what we're seeing as well. I wouldn't say it's as clean as pound USD, but we are seeing this 3-pin pattern here. We've got 1 wick, 2 wicks, and the 3rd wick, which basically gives us a lower low, then a higher low. We're also seeing momentum with this bullish candle here as well, which is why I want to wait for the end of the week to confirm that. But again, it looks like support is being found here, which should give us another drive to the upside. And again, it lines up very well with what the other USD pairs are doing. So I do like what I'm seeing with Euro longs. And of course, if you do drop a little bit more to the lower time frames, you can see on the weekly chart, not really a lower time frame, but it does illustrate the point well. from a weekly perspective, it looks to me that we've had this, bearish kind of correction, and it looks like this week's candle is pretty much giving us a breakout here. We've been so corrective, seeing some downside, low lows and low highs. Now this week's kind of just put an end to that, and we are seeing a closure outside of this makeshift bearish channel. So again, perhaps a breakout is happening, which again, the next 2-3 weeks, we could see momentum take us at least back to resistance. I'm not necessarily saying back to prior highs. If we go to the daily chart, I mean, there's a possibility we could see a push back to prior highs, but I wouldn't necessarily bank on that. A push to 1.175 is where I'm looking. There's a lot of resistance in and around this area. Maybe can chalk that to 1.18, but I wouldn't necessarily bank on any further than that because there's a lot of resistance above our heads. And altogether, Euro USD is a bit of a flat pair, so we're not going to get too carried away. Likewise with Pound USD as well. We've had this surge of momentum after the failed attempt to break through that support level. So again, looking for us to push back into resistance anywhere within that zone, not necessarily banking on a continuation. We need a bit more emphasis for that. And dollar CAD as well. This one too, showing a lot of signs of rejection on the 3 weekly chart as well. You can see we've got this prior high, which I've just taken a level across that high. We had this massive fake out. This was early in the year, so massive breakout. We came straight back underneath. And again, it looks to me that price is now finding resistance at the top end of this range again. And if that's the case, what I'm looking at is with this bearish move is that's our impulse. This looks like a likely correction. And now I'm expecting a continuation back into lows as well. And again, we're getting that 3-pin pattern and a nice pin bar with that bearish candle, which is about to close by the end of the week. So it looks like across the board, USD is seeing some weakness, especially from a top-down perspective. And it looks like the major currency pairs, Pound USD, Euro, Dollar CAD, is adding up in the same direction. And again, I'm not looking necessarily to trade on this time horizon. I'm looking to place my trades on the intraday charts. But this just gives us the bias for the next few weeks, which is very powerful because you don't want to be using lower time frames to create a bias and lower time frames to enter the trade. You want to utilize the bigger picture and then you drop to the smaller picture to actually trade it. And that's exactly what we've got here. We've got a lot of charts pointing the same direction, which is a confluence in itself. So I would suggest we're kind of getting ready for dollar CAD to drop. And then the plan would be looking for some pullbacks along the way. I wouldn't want to be shorting just yet. We're looking a little bit tired. But let's say, again, if momentum can pick up, I do think some pullbacks could look really good to short. We were speaking about this yesterday. It looks like we are starting to get the break of that counter trend line. I wouldn't say we've got it just yet. So still waiting for a bit more conviction there. But it looks even more likely that we are going to get that continuation. What's up, Annie? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Yes, we can take a look at natural gas. Yeah, I've been away as well. I've been away, so it's my first week back on the streams again. But good to see you. Yes, we'll take a look at natural gas as well. It is on the equal high around $5. Okay, we'll go through that for you. To be honest, I haven't actually been keeping up to date with natural gas. Not really a market I follow other than when I do go through it on live streams. We've been super, super bullish, to be honest. This is the daily chart. We've had a bit of a mini breakout. I say mini, it's actually quite a big breakout. We've been super, super bullish. Looks like price is just going to sweep the high here. You're absolutely correct. We are trading around that $5 mark there, which is a pretty big cycle level as well. So what would the plan be for natural gas? Well, because we've been so bullish and we're just going to take out that high, if anything, the plan is to be a bit patient now because we could go for a bit of retracement. There's a lot of momentum and you might be able to squeeze a bit more out of that, but I would be a bit patient now because it's not like this is a very bullish market on the bigger picture. We just had a massive sell-off it's actually a couple of years ago now because I'm on the monthly chart, but it's not necessarily a market which I'll just suddenly bet that was going to keep continuing. Not if I look at prior price action. So we've been super, super bullish. Again, you can probably still squeeze a bit more of it, more out of it to the upside, but I would be a little bit more reluctant with that. So I would suggest if we can get a pullback Let me drop to the 2-hour chart. Yeah, so I like this area here. We're still seeing higher highs and higher lows. Momentum is still very strong. I like this demand zone. I would suggest if you can have a nice corrective pullback, dip into that area, which is going to be a newfound demand zone, then yeah, I would just bet on a pushback to high. I wouldn't be any more confident than that in terms of, okay, I'm expecting bigger targets because the big target was this high to our left, which we have taken out. So if anything, natural gas, I'll be looking at a pullback soon and a bit of a correction. So yeah, natural gas still super bullish. It depends on your time horizon. If you're on the lower time frames, I think it's still a smart trade for a buy because you've got a lot of wind in your sails. You've got a multitude of higher time frames pointing the same direction. It's just that we've taken out this high now, and that could trigger some serious profit taking and potentially a bit of a pullback. Maybe the fundamentals keep us bullish, but I just wouldn't be trying to hold for crazy moves now. So yeah, my best kind of advice for natural gas is keep up with the trend. Look for the pullbacks, especially intraday, back to the high. There's nothing wrong with leaving a position to trail because we could go a lot further. You never know. But I would keep it in the back of my mind that that bigger pullback is probably more likely to come now. Of course, when it does come, we don't know. It could be today. It could be in another week's time. But yeah, that's definitely on the horizon. But yeah, still a very super bullish market. So just keep looking to buy the pullbacks. I think that's the best play. What's up, Dmar? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. In terms of some of the other markets, I do like what I'm seeing with the indices. It looks like momentum is slowly picking back up for them. And I will be expecting them to return back to their highs, 26,255. That's for the NASDAQ. S&P back to 69.21. Of course, these are the previous all-time highs. And the Dow Jones are pushed back to 48,417. I would probably say US30 is my favorite out of all of them. I like the market structure. I like the breakout we had this week as well. We were quite flat here, and then you can see momentum just picked up. I think this was, Wednesday. Momentum picked up very well. So I'm liking what I'm seeing here. In terms of a trade, I probably would suggest if we can run back to the low here, that would be a nice place to position myself for a long. We've got a nice consolidation just floating below. I wouldn't mind if we can dip into that and then see some continuations back to this high and then ultimately back to the all-time high. Momentum still looks very good in the higher time frames, which is a key component to me expecting continuation. You can see the last week's candle, lovely bullish engulfing candle. This week is a bit of a mixed one, but we'll see how it does close. But all in all, momentum's still up. We're still respecting these prior higher lows. So I would suggest there's a very strong likelihood that US30 is going to make a push back to the high. And if you take a look at the other major US indices, you got the S&P still showing similar behavior, strong close last week's candle. I would still suggest we got a likeliness to go and push back to the highs. NASDAQ equally so, nice bullish engulfing. I would still bet on a push back to resistance there. And I would suggest other indices too, UK 100. That looks likely for a push to the upside. The DAX is a bit of an awkward one because this is a bit of a range, but I do like what I'm seeing again on the 3-week chart as well, especially with this week's candle, because we have been very choppy and there hasn't been much opportunity, to be honest. But now that we've had this very aggressive sell-off, which took out this low, and then suddenly prices pulled all the way back up, and it looks like it's about to close bullish. Again, this candle will close at the end of today. That looks to me that we just had a significant rejection of that low. Now I would expect us to make a move back to the opposite end of the range, which would be that resistance. And of course, this is still a very bullish market as well. So I do expect the DAX now to see some follow through. I think generally speaking, the indices as a whole do look like they're about to start to continue back to all-time highs and probably see some new ones. So I think some intraday opportunities, just buying the dips, buying the pullbacks makes a lot of sense for a lot of these indices, the DAX, FTSE, Dow Jones. None of them are kind of at the all-time highs yet, so I see opportunity there. The DAX on the 4-hour chart is starting to pull away, but I would be looking at some dips probably next week. I think let price do its thing for today, let it close, and then that will set the tone for December. And yeah, looking for some kind of intraday pullbacks. I like this zone here. Nice consolidation, strong breakout. That could be a smart place to buy from potentially today, but it would be nice if we could set up maybe Monday. We could still pull back maybe US session. But yeah, looking super, super bullish. Is that Kufil? Yeah, Quiffy? Yeah, I'm saying that horrendously wrong. What's up, Forex? Welcome to the stream. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing good too. Yes, we could take a look at gold as well. In terms of gold, yeah, gold's picking up some pace. Silver was the big mover past couple of weeks. Gold looks like it's lagging behind, but I do think there's still opportunity for gold to attack the highs. I say that because we've had this big correction, but we haven't really seen much downside since then. We've had that big drop, and then we've just been very slow, but still steadily creating higher lows. Now, the last kind of barrier gold has to deal with is this high here. I think if you can get a significant break of that high, then the odds of price pushing back to here is very high at that point, because then we're kind of just back in the trending environment. So if you're looking for opportunities for gold, I would suggest two opportunities to look into. Either we get a deeper pullback. Let's say if price fails to break the high again, then I would suggest if we can push back into this demand zone, naturally look to find the next higher low. You've got one over there, perhaps a second, and then perhaps you catch the third, or wait for us to break out. This would be the more higher probability opportunity, a strong break of that resistance, and then you're looking for intraday pullbacks after that. And then there's a very high chance we're probably just going to achieve a retest of the high at the very least, probably some new highs at that point as well. So it depends what you're looking for. This is the more swing opportunity, the better risk reward opportunity. You're buying at a better price opportunity. This is more so you've got momentum in your favor and you're just looking for those quick intraday pullbacks to ride that momentum. There's no wrong or right answer, but those are the two ways I look to trade gold. I don't really want to be buying now because we're about to approach resistance again, which we failed to break through last week or Monday. So earlier this week. We've already failed to break through that. I don't want to keep buying into that level. I'd rather wait for it to break or for price to pull away. But in terms of a bias, yeah, gold's looking super bullish. And silver, likewise, even more so actually. Very strong break of the highs here. Momentum's really picked up. Looks like we've had a bit of a retracement back into support again. A lot of wicks day yesterday. And I would bet on silver at least making a push back to resistance again. Of course, whether we break out and how far we go after that, that's anyone's guess because this is pretty much all-time highs. So, yeah, we're just going to have to play it by the psychological levels. We've got 60 trading above us there. That's a pretty big psychological level. The next big one, post 50, that could be a bit of an attraction, but you probably want to take it step by step. So I'd probably look at maybe 59.5. That would be a nice intermediate target because I think we failed at 59. Yeah, around about 59 is where we had that pullback. So 59.5 and 60. But yeah, pretty bullish on the metals. I cannot lie. I actually quite like platinum. We can take a look at that. I think palladium's got some opportunity, but I think platinum looks like the better one. So I think keep an eye on that. Copper's looking quite bullish too, but I'm not the biggest fan of copper right now. Hey, what's up, CS? Welcome to the chat. Hope you're doing good. What's up, Sultan? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're good and healthy. Appreciate it. Hope you're good and healthy as well as to everyone in the stream. Hope everyone's doing well. And yeah, I hope everyone's doing well and ready for the upcoming year as well, because we're coming to the end of 2025. I feel like it's gone so quickly. I feel like I just blinked and it's gone from New Year's 2025 to the end of 2025. Hopefully 2026 goes a little bit slower, but I don't know if it's a good thing if a year goes quick or not. Anywho, I'll go through some pairs in my watch list, especially pairs which I'm looking at to trade for December, actually, because there's some nice high time frame price action setting up. I went through some of the USD pairs. I'll go through Aussie dollar as well because I didn't go through that one. And then I'll go through some of the yen pairs as well. And pound CAD and pound Aussie, I like those too. CS based on the 4-hour DXY long hold at 99. Okay, 90 and 98.8 stop loss 98. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not the big fan of USD strength anymore. I've kind of admitted defeat with the USD because the key confluence for me was this support. I didn't want that to break this week, and it did break. So because of that, I'm going to have to drop my bullish bias. And especially with what I'm seeing in the higher time frames, I'm favoring more downside. However, we can still see a bounce. And just because I'm favoring more downside doesn't mean we have to immediately drop right now. You know, price could still see some upside before that move. But the fact that we have broken structure to the downside, I know we have kind of tapped into this demand zone, which could give us a bit of a lift. And I do think it will. It's just I have my doubts about a push back to the highs, because the reason why I was bullish for the dollar is because I was favoring price to break out of this. You know, we've been super flat. We saw some consistent higher highs and higher lows for a while. I was looking for price to break through 100 and start to really trend. We had a couple of attempts to try and do that. And my fail safe basically was, let's not break through support, because if we're failing to break resistance and managing to break support, that's basically the opposite of what I want price to do: break resistance, hold support. So because of that, I've dropped my bullish bias, but I still understand we are trading some smart areas, nice demand zone, which gave us that lift. You know, prices potentially swept some of these lows that could give us a bit of a lift, as you know, maybe some earlier buyers are exiting their position. Naturally, that might give us a bit of a bounce. But in terms of the long-term play, I'm actually starting to favor price to swing back into lows. I'm not looking to short yet. This is still very much a bullish zone. So I'm not really interested in shorting the dollar in this area. In fact, we are still seeing a lot of rejection. I will consider some shorts in here. More so, I'll like it if the dollar can keep falling and then give me a bigger break and retest. That would be my number one opportunity, but I probably would still have a stab at some shorts around 99.4. So yeah, I am definitely leaning towards a bearish bias here with the DXY. So we'll see how that does pan out. But yeah, I didn't want to see price break that support level. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all probability. At the end of the day, no one knows really where the market's going to go. I'm just going to always, of course, give you my opinion on what I'm favoring. I do like the support area. It's just long term, I'm going to be favoring a bit more downside, and especially with this tweezer tops on the 3 weekly chart, a really strong rejection in the first week's candle, and then this week's or this 3 week candle, which is about to close at the end of today, is giving us that second piercing wick into the high and another strong rejection too. So to me, that's a bit of a red flag there. And I would be expecting us to roll over. Then looking at some of the other USD pairs, pound USD, we're seeing something similar. You know, a nice rejection of support. Looks like we're getting a bit of a bullish engulfing candle on this chart. Euro USD, a lot of wicks to the downside here as well. It looks to me that momentum is about to push back into resistance. Dollar CAD likewise as well. A lot of wicks there to the upside at key resistance too. Looks like price potentially might be getting ready for a bit of a slope to the downside. And Aussie dollars, the other USD pair I wanted to say as well, because this one I was actually favoring price to break lower, but all we did was have a lot of rejection of that support level. We never saw a confident break of this support level. And now this 3 week candle has a piercing wick into the low, and momentum's completely shifted back to the buyers, and looks like we're about to close with some strength here. So I would favor a push at the very least back into resistance, but we could very well see some new highs here for Aussie dollar if this candle really does rip in the next candle does rip. So yeah, Aussie dollar failed to break lower. It looks like this demand zone basically just held support there, and I do favor a bit more upside now. So yeah, I'm switching the bias around for USD. This is more of a longer term bias. This is kind of my bias for December, really. And of course, with potentially rates looking to be cut as well for the USD as well. I just think the narrative behind $2 fundamentally is looking a little bit weak as well. So we'll see. I don't have any opportunities just yet. In fact, I'm waiting for those candles to close. So that means I'm waiting for today's candle to close, and that could set up some nice opportunities next week. But then again, I still need to find some good entries and pullbacks. So there's a lot to happen before I do find some entries there for the USD pairs. But for the next 3 weeks at least, that's the plan of action I have. Yeah, and in terms of some of the crosses which I do like, I'm keeping an eye on Aussie New Zealand dollar. I do think there's some opportunity here, especially mean reversion, because price has spiked quite heavily into some key resistance, which has held price since June 2015. So pretty much over a decade, this has been a very key level of resistance. And if you look at last month's candle closure, it was a really, really aggressive wick to the upside, and price managed to pull all the way back down and just about close bearish, giving us a very piercing wick through this resistance level. And if you look at the last time price did reject this level back in September, a nice wick as well, maybe not as aggressive, but we did have a nice wick into that level and a really aggressive pullback. And essentially price has been in the range for quite some time here for Aussie New Zealand dollar. So when you do get a rejection like this, there's only one or two things that's going to happen. Either price is ultimately going to have a breakout and price is going to continue higher, or this is price rejecting that level, putting in a high, and now is going to reverse. I'm betting on the latter. I'm betting that price has rejected the high well, massive sweep, and now we're potentially getting ready for some downside. So I'm looking for opportunities to take Aussie New Zealand dollar shorts. Again, being a bit careful because momentum is still with the buyers here, so being a bit watchful of that. But we do have some bearish structure in our favor already. So you've got this push, pullback, next push. I'm looking at this as being another pullback for hopefully another move back down. Now, there is some supply just above our heads here, which I feel like price could be coming back to retest. And essentially, I'm looking for us to tap into that and reject heavily. If we can do that, I'll give this a stab. Stops above wherever the high forms, at the very least looking for a push back into this low, but because I would expect this to be a reversal opportunity, I'm looking for us to basically come back into this level of support here. So I'm going to keep an eye on Aussie New Zealand dollar. It's a reversal opportunity, so it's not as high probability as I would say a continuation pattern would be. But it is an opportunity which I am very interested in because we're right at the extremes. We've seen a massive rejection on the monthly chart. That wick should be big enough to have swept liquidity to then fund a move lower. If price does break through, fair enough. But yeah, I am looking at some reversals there for Aussie New Zealand dollar as well. Again, I feel like this is more an opportunity maybe for next week in terms of actually finding an entry. But I don't know, maybe price might test the level today and give a strong rejection. We'll see. But yeah, those are the shorts I'm going to keep an eye for Aussie New Zealand dollar. That's the only kind of reversal opportunity I'm looking at in the market or markets. The rest, I'm just looking at continuation plays. Okay, 99.2, 99. Okay, you're not looking to capture a big move there. Fair enough, yeah. Annie, no problem. Happy to help. Yes, natural gas looks bullish. What should I do to trade NASDAQ today during the US market time? Yeah, I'm not necessarily confining myself to one session, so it's not like okay, I have to find a trade this US session. I like NASDAQ because what I'm seeing in the higher time frames, it looks like everything is pointing to the upside. Of course, you have the general direction of the market, but if you look at last week's price action, strong bullish engulfing candle. Looks to me that support has essentially held, and we've seen an adequate rejection in the higher time frames. So I do think the likeliness for NASDAQ to push at least back to resistance is very high, but of course, probably to some new highs is a good bet as well. So the plan here for the NASDAQ is continuously looking to buy. I was talking about this supply zone to our left. I said, watch out for this. This could be a bit of a shaky area because there could be a chance that maybe sellers step into the market and we see a push down. That hasn't happened this week, and we've maintained momentum. So for an opportunity for NASDAQ, it's looking a little bit corrective, which I'm not the biggest fan of. In fact, I would like to see if momentum can pick up and then find the next pullback. Even the retest of this range could be a smart place for a buy. But this, of course, is ultimately our target. So I'm not trying to force anything because we still got a long way to go between where current price is and the target. Trading is all about finding a good opportunity. I think NASDAQ on the high time frames looks like a good opportunity, but now I'm dropping to the intraday charts to find a good opportunity there as well to support the idea. I don't really have that just yet. So there's not really a level which I'm looking to buy from. Like I said, if momentum can pick up, that'll show that, okay, the buys are stepping in, and then maybe the retest of this range could make sense there. If I drop to like a 50-minute chart here, I mean, if you're looking at a very quick play, I wouldn't mind something like this. We've got a lot of equal lows here. We could see price potentially push down into that, and that could fund the push back into resistance. But I wouldn't be trying to bet on a push to that higher time frame level into the all-time high, basically, which is up there. So I wouldn't want to trade the 50-minute chart to look for such a big move. That's more like for the US session. So if that's your interest, I think there could be a smart trade there. I'm looking to see if I can find a swing back to the high, which, like I said, it might come. Well, it probably won't do because I don't have a level. So it probably won't happen this US session, but maybe some point next week, there could be a nice pullback that does fit my criteria. But in terms of direction, in terms of what I'm expecting, back to highs looks like a pretty smooth opportunity here for NASDAQ, and the other US indices are looking good as well. I actually do think US30 looks a little bit better, so that's actually where my focus is, which actually could give me a trade this US session. I like this support level. Let me just clean that up for you guys. I like this support level here with the rated yesterday evening. We've got nice consolidation just resting below, which gave us that very strong move. So I would actually like to see US30 drop back into this area and then give me a rejection. And this is where I'll be happy to take a trade. So if that happens, the US session, I'll be all over it. If it happens maybe Monday, then of course I'll wait till Monday or whenever it happens. But yeah, US30, same situation. You know, strong bullish engulfing candle, momentum still up. I do think we're likely to go and push back to highs. I like the structure in the daily chart as well. Nice push, consolidation, another big push. It looks to me that price is having a break and retest of prior resistance to our left, now turn support. I do think momentum will pick up and see a push back to highs there as well. So in terms of the indices, US30 is actually ticking my boxes very well on the higher time frames and the lower time frames. I actually do have a legit setup here to play some trades. So yeah, NASDAQ, I like it, just no real setup for me. US30, I like it, and there's a real setup. So that's kind of where my focus is a bit more towards. Okay, where was I? Hey, what's up, M Brown, swing specialist. I like actually get on a t-shirt actually. Swing trade specialist. Maybe just swing specialist. But I like the phrase. Bernard, yes, we can take a look at EuroCAD on the hourly chart. It's in a bit of a range, EuroCAD, so I'm not too sure the hourly will give us much information, but I can take a look at it for you. What of USD? I just went through that. I could do a quick recap of that one, but I'm looking at some shorts on the Aussie New Zealand dollar. Sam Forex, my man, what is up? Greetings. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're well. Any markets you're looking at, feel free to drop it in the chat. We can take a look. But I'll go for EuroCAD quickly on the hourly chart. Not a big fan. I mean, I like EuroCAD because there's overall momentum on the higher time frames. It does look like we're running out of juice a little bit. You know, we have been trending pretty well. I do worry about where we're trading on the monthly chart as well, because we do have this significant high, which we just spiked. And I do wonder if this could potentially induce a bit of a pullback. If you look at prior price action, you know, what happened before we had the last really aggressive sell-off, price just about pinched a major high and then reversed. I wonder if we're going to do the same thing over here. Now, this is the monthly chart. It will take its time to develop, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But yeah, I do worry about how far or how much room this uptrend does still have. But anyway, if you drop to the lower time frames, momentum's still picking up pretty well. Weekly chart, we are a little bit flat here, which of course, if you drop to the daily, you see the range in all its glory. More or less equal highs over there, more or less equal lows over here. So dropping to the hourly chart doesn't really do too much for me because we're just trading in the middle of nowhere, to be honest. I know there can be still some intraday opportunities, but again, trading is all about quality over quantity, and I want to be finding the best opportunities. And it's either I'm trading mean reversion, which is reversal, or I'm trading continuation, which is looking to follow a trend. And I want to find the best opportunities on either side of the coin. So if I'm looking to trade reversal, best way to do that is have a range and look to short the highs or buy the lows. We have a range here, but we're not at the high, we're not at the low. So I wouldn't say this is a really good opportunity. Or if you're looking at continuation, then you want a trend and you want to have a pullback. You could argue this is a trend. You could argue this is somewhat of a pullback, but still, I don't want to be buying in the middle of a range either. So I don't really see any opportunity right now for EuroCAD. Doesn't really matter how low of a time frame you drop. It's just not clear. So yeah, I mean, hourly chart, we're seeing some momentum. There's a nice close there a couple of hours ago. Perhaps we're going to see a push back to this low or maybe this low. But because it's pretty much random fluctuation, it's a battle between buyers and sellers who are pretty much equal to one another. It's going to be very difficult to predict with high accuracy of what the market's likely to do next. So to be honest, if this was just me looking at EuroCAD, I would just move on because anything in here is just not worthwhile. Doesn't mean you won't be able to find a winning trade, but on a consistent basis, you're going to have to do a lot of work here. So what I would suggest for EuroCAD is wait for price to push back to support 1.618 or back to resistance 1.632, and then look to do your business in those areas. Again, you're not going to win every trade either, but you have a lot more going for you. Naturally, sellers will be looking to exit positions as we approach support. Naturally, buyers will be looking to exit positions as we approach resistance. That very change and shift between buyers and sellers can give you an opportunity to profit from. Here is just anyone's guess, to be honest. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on those levels or even breakouts as well. If the buyers can overwhelm the sellers and break through that, then there's a good chance we're probably going to push back to resistance here. And then your opportunities, maybe some pullbacks or even a retest of the range and a push back to the high. And that becomes your tradable opportunity. But yeah, I would highly advise to stay away from the middle. That's an easy way to give back your profits to the market unnecessarily. Okay, so we'll go through Aussie New Zealand dollar quickly. MT Simza FX, what's up, my man? Hope you're good. I love the look of US30, just waiting for those buyers. Yeah, I'm a big fan of US30. I can't complain as well. Price action looks good. Momentum looks good. I think it's probably my favorite indice right now. It's the only one really giving me a clear opportunity for a buy. It's just about, will we get the entry? Will we not? It's up to the market at that point. But yeah, I agree. I love the price action there as well. But yeah, in terms of the Aussie New Zealand dollar, so I am looking at some sells for this one. Again, the real catalyst for the idea is the rejection on the monthly chart. So you can see here, if you compare EuroCAD to this price action, we've got a similar range here. But the reason why Aussie New Zealand dollar looks like a good opportunity is because of where we're positioned and how we've rejected the high as well. So you can see a clear-cut range here. There's your high. There's the retest. We'll come back again. And if you look at last month's candle, massive wick to the upside, and your price was super, super bullish at one point. But before that that month's candle ends, it pulls all the way back and closed within the range. That for me is a crystal clear rejection. And now I'm looking at price, seeing some downside. Of course, this current monthly candle is looking quite bullish, but I'm not going to read too much into that because it's only the first 5 days of the month as well. I'll wait for that candle to close to interpret that data. But yeah, that really strong rejection there has set the tone. I'm looking at some downside. My targets for Aussie New Zealand dollar is, at the very least, if this is going to be a reversal, would be a push back into support here at 1.129. And the way I'm looking to trade this is looking at this market structure. We've got the high over there, create this low, then we from the lower high, then we create a new lower low. So now I'm looking at another lower high forming to get that, hopefully that drive back into the lows. And in terms of the location of where we're trading, looks like we're coming back into a nice supply zone. I'm just waiting to see some strength on that rejection. So Aussie New Zealand dollar to me looks like a really nice short opportunity. Momentum's picking up now, so let's see. Maybe price doesn't reject and maybe we keep going, or maybe we do tap into that level and see a lot of strength from the sellers coming in. We'll have to gauge it looking at candlestick patterns and price action. But if we do get a sufficient enough rejection, I'm looking for entries in this area, stops above wherever the swing high is. At the very least, looking to target this low, but if things go well, I'm looking to target the low here. So yeah, very, very bearish here on Aussie New Zealand dollar. What's up, EY2KX? Yes, we could take a look at BTC as well. I have been keeping a close eye on Bitcoin. I do feel like it's coming to a very interesting level. A lot of the cryptocurrencies are actually coming to an interesting area. But again, just looking at the bigger scope of things, just to make everything settle down, because a lot of people get too caught up in this momentum here for last month's candle, and they fail to look at the bigger picture. I mean, that happens pretty much for all markets. The bigger picture is still very bullish for BTC, so still very long-term bullish, looking at price returning back to highs. But we have seen a pretty aggressive rejection, and now we are approaching a pretty significant area of demand. So this is a make or break area. We could still potentially have a deeper pullback, but this is an area where buyers should be looking to enter the market, and we could see some life come back into BTC. So what I would suggest is keeping a close eye to see how price reacts with this area. So far, a couple very strong reactions. I still do think we are in a bearish climate and shorts make the most sense. We've had a really big bearish swing there. So I do still expect to see a bit more downside, but I wouldn't be looking at anything crazy. To be honest, I'll keep it short term. I like how price come back to resistance here. We've seen a nice rejection. I would suggest this is a healthy place for a short. If you're looking at some entries now, I would suggest maybe one more push up again, back to the high, just so you can place your entry and your stop loss in the best place possible, really. So if you can get another push back to resistance, let's say you get another rejection here, maybe a piercing wick through the level, that would be a smart play for a short. Stops above the high. You don't necessarily have to look for the big push here. You could keep it short and sweet, maybe a 1 to 2 and run. The reason why I would say that is because of where we're testing. It's not like price is up here where I can be a little bit more aggressive. We are testing some big areas of demand here. Maybe that low at best, but that's up to you how you want to manage your trades. In terms of an entry and a stop loss, though, I like what I'm seeing at the rejection at these levels. So 93K to 95 almost. So yeah, BTC, I still think short-term sells are the best bet for now. Momentum still with the bears. I wouldn't want to be buying now. It's too aggressive. But let's say if we have another test and suddenly we see a really strong reaction, well, that says a lot. That says a lot for BTC, and perhaps we're going to be looking at some continuations to the upside. And maybe another big bullish leg. But that's probably a discussion in like a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, for now, BTC, just keep in tune with the shorts. I think that's the best play. But yeah, just keeping one eye on that big zone, because if BTC is going to turn bullish, I think there's a good chance it's from this area. So what's up, Replay? Hope you're doing good, my man. Welcome to the stream. So which zone are you looking for shorts on Aussie? Okay, I'll give you the price. So anywhere in this zone, so anywhere between 1.14895 to 1.153, anywhere in that zone, that's our supply zone. Price had a nice consolidation there and then spat out a lot of momentum. So the idea is that we're coming back to retest that area, attract more sellers, and then hopefully see the continuation. So that's the zone I'm essentially eyeing up. We're not quite there yet, still a few pips away. But again, it's not that, okay, price is there, let's just start selling. Price needs to get there and then reject well. There's two sides to the story there. If price just gets there, but momentum keeps pushing, I'm not going to force a trade there. But if I can see some adequate wicks, maybe a strong bearish engulfing candle, that could be enough to enter the trade and hopefully take it back to this low. And if we really get the follow through back down to 1.113 there, 1.13. So yeah, out of all the markets, I would say my top three at the moment would be some longs on pound USD. I like what I'm seeing back to 1.36. I would say some longs on the Dow Jones back to 48,400, the all-time highs basically. And I probably would say for a third one, shorts on the Aussie New Zealand dollar for the mean reversion opportunity. But I still like what I'm seeing with Aussie dollar. I just think pound USD is the better USD pair. I like what I'm seeing with dollar CAD. I'd rather trade pound USD, but it's the same opportunity really. Same with euro as well. Yen pairs, I still believe there's a lot more room to the upside. Again, if I go to the yen basket, again, this is like my gauge for what the yen pairs are going to do. You can see we've had this massive downtrend. I don't think it's over yet. Still looking for us to at least get to this area here, which is 5,500, we'll call it. There's still room to the downside for the yen to keep dropping. We've broken through some colossal support recently, and now I just expect us to go and hit the next big level, which would be this level here. So if the yen basket still has this room to fall, and by the way, the yen basket is just the yen against other major currencies, so Aussie, CAD, pound, euro, dollar. If this is still likely to keep falling, well, then the yen pairs are still likely to keep rising. So I do think there's opportunities there. I'll keep an eye on Swiss yen. I do like Swiss yen. My only worry about Swiss yen is what the Swiss is doing. Because I'm looking at a lot of these Swiss pairs and they're looking very bullish. This was a trade idea I was looking to take yesterday, but I decided not to because momentum wasn't looking too good on the 4 hour and the 8 hour as well. Aussie Swiss, I was looking at some shorts here too, but momentum failed at the high. So I didn't take the trade here either. We're having the breakout. So as you can see, Swiss looks like it's starting to weaken. So that's my only worry about Swiss itself. You can see Euro CHF here picking up momentum. I'm pretty sure pound CHF, yeah, picking up momentum. So if I'm looking to buy Swiss yen, I'm saying that the yen is just going to be so weak here, even though it looks like Swiss is about to weaken too. So that's my only worry about buying Swiss yen. I mean, I'm looking at dollar yen. That's looking like it's finding support. Aussie yen. I mean, Aussie yen's looking pretty bullish, but I think that's more to do with Aussie itself. I'm pretty sure if I look at Aussie pairs across the board, yeah, Aussie's looking very bullish. Pound Aussie is pushing down. I didn't get my shorts this week on pound Aussie, unfortunately. Looks like price is just falling without me. Of course, Aussie New Zealand dollar is pushing up, so it's even stronger than NZD. Euro Aussie is pushing down. And of course, we spoke about Aussie CHF pushing up as well. So Aussie is extremely weak, so I'm not going to read too much into that. CAD yen, quite flat. New Zealand yen, quite flat, but looks like it's pushing up. So yeah, yen is pretty weak. Is it going to be weaker than the Swiss? I would expect it to be. But I don't know about now. It could be a situation where we pull back a little bit deeper before we see the continuation. No problem. Happy to help. Yeah, so like I said, Swiss yen, I think Swiss yen's in a really smart place. You effectively got the retest of resistance there. You got a nice rejection there. I might give it a stab, but reduce risk. So like half an hour instead of a full hour. I'll take on the 8 hour candle close. So wait for that. I mean, that's still got 3 hours left, so that could still look a lot different. I'll give it on the 8 hour candle close. I'll probably put stop loss 180R below the low and then targeting the high, because all we're doing here is betting on trend continuation. It's still a very healthy trend. Maybe Swiss is weakening a little bit, but if the yen can still be weaker, then we're likely to see that continuation. So I think Swiss yen is a decent buy. It's probably the better, one of the better yen pairs. What's up, KS Meds? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Lorraine, what's up? Welcome. Good afternoon. Yes, we can go through Euro USD. If anyone has any requests, just drop it in the chat. I'm more than happy to go through it and take a look. But yeah, in terms of Euro USD, it's definitely a pair which I'm interested in. It's not my favorite USD pair. Like I said, pound USD is probably my favorite. Probably say close second would be dollar CAD. Euro USD, the only reason why I'm not the biggest favorite of this one is because of how flat it's been. So we've kind of lacked momentum in either direction. But what I would suggest is that higher time frames are pointing for a move higher. This is the 3 weekly chart. And what I really like about it is for the past kind of 3 weeks, we've seen a lot of wicks to the downside here. So it looks to me that Euro USD has been trying to sell off, but essentially failing. And now it's confirmed that we've got support in this area. And it looks like this candle is about to close bullish as well. We'll see how it does close by the end of the day. But it looks like it's about to close bullish. So with that said, the next candle, I would be expecting a drive higher. I'm not necessarily expecting us to blow through resistance here and completely continue. I don't think we even have a crazy candle. All I'm betting is that there'll probably be at least a wick to the upside. It may even close bearish. But this support is quite telling. 1, 2, 3 candles in a row, really failing to push down. There's a strong chance we do push higher. Then when I drop to the weekly chart, it looks to me that price is having a breakout of this descending channel as well. You've got a very correct to move down, and it looks like this week's candle is starting to break out of that. Again, we'll wait to see how the candle does close because it could still pull back. But it looks like we're hinting at potentially a bit of a breakout here as well. So I do like the longs here. It's just a little bit flat, so it could be a bit of one of those opportunities where you get into a trade, it goes in your direction, and it comes back at break even just because it's a bit more choppy. It's going to be a difficult move or a harder move to catch. But we are still seeing momentum pick up here. So I would suggest some buys on this low could be interesting for continuation, at the very least back to the high here. Of course, I do still expect us to push there, but this could be a nice intraday idea. Hourly chart, sweep of the low, retest the trend line, could see a push there. Again, I would want to wait for next week so I can get that weekly candle closure and I can see, what we actually have, because there's still a chance that maybe we just bleed to the downside and the weekly candle leaves behind a bit of a wick there and it looks a bit awkward. So yeah, I would advise to wait for next week. But yeah, I am leaning towards a bullish bias and a push to 1.176. No problem, KS Meds. Happy to help, my man. So yeah, I would suggest going to next week. I'll keep an eye on Swiss yen. I could actually stick a position on there. Stick a position on it. Yeah, swaps are positive, aren't they? Swaps are positive for Swiss yen, so I don't mind holding over the weekend either. But I will reduce risk because I'm not a fan of what Swiss is doing right now, especially with the Swiss pairs. But I'm still banking on yen being probably the weakest currency. So I would expect Swiss yen to still fight high. And I like the way we kind of tapped into support here, slightly wicked through the low, and now we're reclaiming it. So I'll give a stab on the Swiss yen trade. But the real moves I'm looking at is pound USD longs, Aussie New Zealand dollar shorts, if I can get an entry there, US30 longs, if I can get an entry on the retest there. Those are my top 3. Again, probably will set up next week. Maybe US30 sets up today. If we see a stab lower, we'll see. Pound CAD, I'm keeping an eye on, similar to pound USD. Again, I like what I'm seeing on the 3 weekly chart as well. So you can see prices kind of wicked into this demand zone. We've had a really strong bullish candle a few weeks ago. We've had a bit of a pullback, 1 wick, 2 wick into that zone. Now we're seeing some strength coming into play. I do think, again, especially with the weekly candle too, we could probably see a push back into resistance there. Not the best trade because if you look at the theme of the market, it's been very, very, noisy and choppy. So again, this is a similar situation to Euro USD where it's not a clear path back to resistance. It could be choppy. You could get wicked out before price continues, or a push in your favor and stopped out break even. The smoother the market, the less likely price will do that. Choppier the market, of course, the choppier the trade will be. So I'll keep an eye on pound CAD, but to be honest, pound CAD and pound USD are very similar. So I'll just focus my efforts on pound USD. Yeah, and then I'll see what we can get on the DXY at the end of the week. It looks like we've got a tweezy top there, so I'm expecting DXY to roll over. Analysis on the dollar. So the analysis basically as follows is I'm looking for a lot more downside. We've got key support here to our left, which price has done a very good job at rejecting. So support, support, support. We broke through. However, since then, we've been so tired. We had a lot of wicks to the downside. So this bearish momentum has just been depleting. We found support. Then it was a question, is price finding support to reverse, or is price finding support to pull back and continue? After seeing how these candles have reacted with this zone, it looks like it's just a pullback for us to continue. We had this candle here, spiked into the high, strong rejection, gave us a big wick. This candle as well, this current 3 weekly candle, which is about to close at the end of today, another big wick to the upside, strong rejection. So that to me is a clear sign that we're failing to push higher. And if we're finding a lot of resistance above our heads, well, then the path of least resistance would be a push back into support, which would take us back into this area. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that USD is going to break through here. That's a different question entirely. But I would suggest there's a good chance we come back to at least test that zone. Because this is just a big range. If I go to the daily chart and zoom out, we've just been back and forth. So I wouldn't suggest the breakout is likely, but I would suggest after this rejection, a pushback here is likely. So I'm pretty bearish on the dollar, and rates look like they're about to be cut as well for USD too. So fundamentally, we do have that kind of bearish narrative behind the dollar as well. And I think that will be a big drive into some selling pressure for USD. So USD to me looks like it's pointing lower. And that helps pound USD bias, that helps the euro bias, that helps the dollar CAD short bias as well. And to a degree, it helps the stock market as well for indices to push higher too. Maybe even crypto. We'll have to see about that. But yeah, I do think there's upside there for a lot of these markets. So yeah, I'll see if I can get an entry on Swiss yen. That would be on the 8-hour closure. So that would be 2 p.m. UK time. If we get a nice bullish engulfing here, I'll give it a stab. Risk reward's not great as well, so I'm keeping my risk half, because even if the trade does play out, I mean, I would trail some of it to see how far it goes, but I'm only looking at like a 1.88 to the high, so it's not a worthy opportunity for me to go full risk, to be honest. But pound USD, Dow Jones, Aussie, New Zealand dollar, I quite like them. So I'll keep you guys updated. We have come up to the end of this stream. I will be live again next week as well from 10 a.m. UK time, Monday to Friday. Yeah, guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's stream. I will post on the weekend as well. So I'll do a summary of the analysis this week, but from a top-down perspective, and then forecast the upcoming week. So I'll post that video on Saturday. I'll be doing more kind of like breakdown videos, more kind of just sit and chat videos as well. If there's any like topics you want me to look at, drop it down in the chat, and I'll add it to the list of videos that I'm going to create. If there's some areas you want me to touch on, let me know. If you just stick it in the comment section of any video, really, I'll see the comment. But yeah, guys, really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, Replay. Thank you, Lofty. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend as well. Really appreciate all of you tuning in. Have a great day, great weekend. If you did enjoy the stream, please be sure to like. Couldn't get my words out there. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. If you're enjoying the content, it does really help push the channel, guys. So I do really appreciate that. And of course, hit the bell too, so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But guys, thank you for tuning in. Have a great day, great weekend. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.